Hey, so welcome back. Um, Today it's not going to be about the fun stuff. Well, it is fun for me, so it's a reading, basically. And I'm just going to take a look at the path of where English has not come from, but where it is tied to the education. Because I was curious about it. I was like, okay, where's English going to go? Because I'm an English teacher, or rather a language teacher. That's one of the things I do, by the way. So welcome to my channel. My name is Jose. I do a bunch of things. Um, that includes music, languages, and spirituality stuff. So divination, astrology stuff. So this is one of those things. Astrology stuff I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be adding asteroids for this one. So why don't we get going with this one? I'm going to try and read it at a basic level, like with the basic planets, not with the asteroids. We'll see what happens because I kind of go more into it, and it's how I like to do it. So let's see what the charts say. Actually, what I can see if I can do it the way Pam does. So what I see here is, mm, so I'm looking at the time when, first of all, actually, I'm looking at it from the education standpoint. So July 7, as of July 7, 2025, um, is when I find the education system going to change. And so Uranus will be in 0 degrees, conjunct Venus, actually, right now. There's going to be a way in which we view the education system itself. Because it's in Gemini, it's tied to learning, it's tied to communication. So that's going to be a change that's I find it's starting on this day. There is one that's stronger, I believe, next year. I'm not sure. I'll double check on that one. Maybe. I don't know. Um, I just really wanted to have fun with this one because I find that it's like Uranus is like changes. It's tied to that one. Uranus also rules sudden changes, unexpected changes, technology. Technology will be a huge thing with the entertainment business, specifically with Venus there. But because it's in Gemini, it's tied to education, how we're learning it. And it's already coming as it is. It's already approaching as of this year. So now we have here Venus and Uranus opposite of the moon, which will be temporary because the moon travels in each sign about every 3 days, approximately. So with that being the opposite, people will have to get used to that. That's the main feeling of that. It's have to balance it, right? There'll be other things too. It will be square. It'll be square. What is this one here? These ones called Terpsichore and Odin. So that means it's going to be tied to Terpsichore. What is Terpsichore about? Um, well, it's language itself. It's kind of the expression itself. So expressions will be part of this. It's how we express ourselves. So at a mundane level, of course, meaning like people, okay, to the world, um, it'll there'll be kind of challenges with music pertaining specifically to like playing music, instrumental music, performances, entertainment. So there'll be a change in shift in theaters. Okay. Anything to do with dance, choreography, Bollywood. Okay. And starting here, Broadway. Okay. So even weddings, like bat mitzvah, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16 parties. Okay. Maybe. Restaurants and bars because it's still kind of business related. It's in the sign of Virgo. Um, New knowledge will be coming in because of Odin here. Okay. So, I don't know, flash mobs. It's interesting. Flash mob is part of this one probably. Anywhere dancing is performed. So usually it's affecting dance. There's be challenges with dance because of I don't know, maybe there'll be meticulousness, maybe sort of like little changes, it'll be tied to Virgo. So it'll be those little changes that'll happen. So it's little things. right? Little pockets of changes in the world. What else is Odin will be bringing in new information, new knowledge, some higher wisdom that is more channeled rather than just plain wisdom that we learn from experience. Odin here is showing also a rebirth as well in the process. There will be kind of a sacrifices in a way sort of made. Odin sacrifices I to gain knowledge. That's what it symbolizes. But there'll be also transmutations, okay, tied to, let's see here. It'll be tied to things like poetry as well. So singing, song, dancing, that's already mentioned, art, music, literature. So things will also come into play when it comes to these things. So new ideas, like I said, prophetic ideas. Uh, new information, like sources of knowledge. Libraries will be affected with this one, how to get, so maybe like a new type of library, if you call it that way. Um, let's see. I don't know if I don't know if alcohol is tied to this one, but I feel like it's more tied to having I don't know if it's tied to royalty or specifically like people. Well, yes, people in power. Okay. Let's see here. So with this whole two-sided thing that's happening, we just switch between duality and everything else. So instead of separation, there might be challenges towards changing that as well. Okay, that's kind of a given this year. Okay. What else do we have here? I'm focusing specifically on the changes that Uranus and that with Uranus with Venus are going to play. But it's going to be also square Lilith. In this case, we're going to go inwards, right? Finding our own shadow, what that means for us as a society, because Lilith is also about rebirth, but not without the cost of losing things for the sake of gaining something else that might seem kind of in opposition to standards and all that stuff. We already know these things, we've kind of heard it, but it is what I'm reading here. Okay. But at the same time, there'll be kind of a flow. There'll be sort of this like a new natural resurrection that'll happen at a more fundamental level, more metaphysical level. It's have Lilith here trine Bacchus Bennu. Okay. Bennu is about resurrection. Bennu is like the phoenix. So we'll rise out of the ashes. Okay. So we're going back to the old ways as well, primeval stuff, things that are more nourishing, something that feels more natural, something to do with the sun as well. Okay. That's interesting. I feel like because of the Venus thing there, um, because of its placement in Scorpio, it is going to be quite about sexuality, so asexuality. So there'll be kind of a balance between, I wouldn't say necessarily gender, but sexuality itself. It is going to be at a solar system level at least, but definitely primordial. So water might be involved here as well, but definitely the sun. Okay. Let's see what else we get here. Primordial darkness. I'm not sure if there's something to do with the darkness of the 3 days. I'm not sure, but I'm seeing a primordial darkness. But could be not necessarily darkness, but kind of like within in our own inner sun. Okay, primordial life. Okay, so a near-death experience. So maybe more near-death experiences, but maybe not necessarily that, but some sort of process where it's like a process of complete change, metaphysical, meta, metamorphic sort of change. Okay, so I don't know what it is, but also something to do with birds and eagles. I know that's kind of like off here, but rivers, okay, any third body of water will be affected there because this is, but it will naturally be a natural change. So their inner waters will be part of this one. I'm seeing here though, it's actually, it's a trine here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to show the chart to you right now, actually. Might as well. Okay. So we'll see, as we see here, we have a grand trine, a grand water trine, actually. You can see that right here. To this is actually Jupiter. So there'll be expansion of change happening here. Okay, there'll be like this process of like businesses being affected as well, family businesses, I would say, because is in Cancer. Okay. But because it's tied to the sun, it's tied to how the government will play a role in this as well. Okay. Um, I feel like the governments are tied to this. Any head of state, any of those leadership, or specifically like leadership, like that lead families, or like anything that will create a sort of sense of security, or at least go into, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it is tied to the emotions as well. So definitely a flow of emotions, definitely healing. But it's gonna feel like it's because of Lilith there. It's gonna feel like it's an ongoing thing. It's because of the Jupiter placement there. Um, it's gonna be kind of an ongoing thing. It's gonna feel like we're not only looking inwards, but it's gonna be repeated, 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 repeated until we really get there. Now, I mentioned earlier that there will be this there's Bacchus here as well. So Bacchus is typically about kind of like Jupiter. Bacchus acts a bit like Jupiter. Okay. Bacchus is also about lack and working hard for celebrating what you have and working with it at a mundane level, meaning the world. Um, now, it'll be things like surpluses and deficits. So I know that's economical and stuff like that. Um, People feeling lost or just, I don't know if it's because it's tied to cancer, maybe people feeling lost, or maybe it might affect adoption agencies. Um, I'm not sure if this is tied to amputation, but we'll see. Because of the signs, biomass, living plants and animals, decomposition, that's the Scorpio placement there. Soil degradation. So farms is also tied to this one. So soil fertility or soil degradation, decomposition. Agricultures are going to be affected here as well. Wastewater, biosolids, I would say kind of like the carbon cycle will be in land restorations will be part of this, regenerative agriculture, so permaculture. I love that. Parts of the places in the world might include desertification, desertification. Okay. Uh, morphing, transmogrification morphings. Animals, of course, okay, will be part of this one. I don't know if cloning will be part of this. I'm not seeing it directly with this one, but because it's let's see here. 3 degrees Bacchus. 3 degrees. Okay. So we have 3 degrees Bacchus in Scorpio, Conks right here. That's right. Actually, I'm not even sure. Is this 3 degrees? Did I misread that? Oh, I did. It is. Oh, it's Haumea. Sorry, I'm pushed over here. Okay. Reset. This happens. No worries. It does happen. It's a little disappointing, but Haumea Hecate Feronia. So forests will be affected. Water systems might be affected. Haumea rules water systems. So I'm not going to cut out what I said there, because I feel like that's important to learn from. When you read something like this, you'll make mistakes. It's bound to happen. That's fine. Um, so regeneration. Let's see here. Let's go straight into. Oh, okay. So anti-aging, cosmetics, marketing industry, that ties in with the Venus placement. Okay. Um, Rehabilitation programs, I feel like that's also part of that. Any sort of rehabilitations, any sort of revivals, I would say, because it is in Scorpio. I think revivals of, what is this one? any sort of like, I think this Scorpio is a little hard in this one. Anything taboo, anything like taxes, anything to do with taxes or money, resources, revival of types of different types of resources. Okay. Mm, not sure child marriage is part of this one because I'm feeling it's tied to this, it's tied to this one. Oh, okay. I kept looking at Venus, that's why. Okay. So it is Venus. I was right earlier. Okay, never mind. So it is trine. So this one just trine right here. Sorry, this quincunx right here to Venus. That is 1 degree, but that's still Hecate, Feronia, and Haumea. So there'll be here's the thing when I do the readings, there are some people who get impatient when I do the readings because I do long readings, but I try not to do it with this one. Okay. Um, it'll be tied to foreign lands. Okay, so outsiders, borders. So it might include like um I wouldn't say people seeking asylum or refugees, but it could be part of this. And we're talking specifically about this whole education system where it's probably conjunct where it's like we're adapting to because it's conjunct to Venus, it's almost like adapting to the education system and how it relates to foreign ideas coming through whatever country you're in, right? Um, this includes let's see here. Homeopathic medicine. I feel like that's still tied to holistic or homeopathic medicine. That's tied to Scorpio as well. Plant lore. So new education system, how to be more general. Because it's tied to Venus, I feel like because it's a relationship, it's tied to more, could be transgender stuff, more of that stuff. But it also could be because of the brain stuff, just metaphysical stuff, neuroplasticity. Because we have here, it's quincunx to Gemini. So I feel like there's something about the brain there, and it's tied to the brain. Okay. Um, magic is definitely part of that. That's again a given. That's a given with Hecate here. I'm also going to look at Haumea. I'm going to go back to Haumea here. So let's see. So I was reading it right. I was wrong first time, but the second time I was reading it right. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to this one. So let's go back to fertility. Environment is part of this one. Rehabilitation programs, environments, ecosystems, conservatories, natural preservatives. Okay. Um, volcanic hotspots. So like places like Hawaii. Okay. Um, This will be a switch because of the explosive nature of Scorpio. I feel like there's something about volcanic events because Verona is also here. You can see it here, but Verona is 1 degree here, right here. That 1 degree right there, that's Verona right there with Hecate and Haumea. So Verona is explosions, or rather fires specifically, because she's more about forest fires. Okay. So yeah, ecosystems or any sort of untouched, uninhabited ecosystems. So like parts of the rainforest of Brazil. Okay. Um, uh, pastoralism. So any form again, agriculture is still tied to this one. That's also part of the Scorpio placement, but also with earlier with Cancer. Okay, because there is a trine, sorry, a grand trine right here to Jupiter right here. Okay. So it is with fire. Furnace here, so volcanic lightning thunder. So it's making sense. So volcanic eruptions, lightning thunder. So, but irrigation systems, wildfires, that's still going to happen, deforestation. But how that ties into the education system is that I believe that it's about the education system adapting to the natural events, the natural phenomena. Okay. So this all ties in together. It's making sense. So what I'm going to do is I find it a natural one. The natural process is what I've said before. The squares right here. You had the square right here. Okay, I'm focusing on actually Uranus and Venus because that's tied to Gemini. Wanted to focus on, but also the trine here to the sun. Um, and the sun in this case, I'm referring to in this case governments, yes, but also referring specifically to the education system and what the governments are doing about that. Okay, there is no connection between Uranus and the sun here or Venus and the sun. Um, but we could look at technically like the moon, okay, because the sun is in Cancer, we look at the moon. I said earlier that the moon is here in Sagittarius. So sports, athletic places where it's like foreign exchange, foreign trade, foreign anything, foreign businesses, any businesses in general. Could be not really businesses, but kind of like that. But foreign relationships, foreign relations, the people in foreign relations, how to relate with each other. Going to have to come to terms with these changes in the education system pertaining specifically to the arts, entertainment, but also how that's also entertainment in the education system as well. So I want to tie this into how this ties in with what I feel is happening on that day, particularly with English. And that's what this video is specifically about. I know I went a little long with this one. It's already 24 minutes, but I was hoping to make this less than an hour. So let's see what we get. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this one is tied to what I call the Path of English as of 1066 July 20, sorry, Julian calendar, September 20th, 1066. I know many people might think it's October 14th because of the Battle of, what was that called? Battle of Hastings. Okay. However, I feel like the first one was because of William's invasion force. I feel like that's stronger in terms of the influence of what has started to happen before even the battle was, you know, fought, whatever. Okay, so I'm not trying to get political here, but I'm going to look at it from the perspective of, let's see where the sun is here. We could be looking at this first house, or we could be looking at the sun. Um, because the sun often rules governing bodies. Okay, we have here already, I see here Venus conjunct the sun. Okay, and it's already tied to right here, the education system and how it's actually tied to the home. Sorry, my bad. It's tied to the home. So it's tied to its identity, to its inner identity, or rather the potential inheritance of that into the future. Because if you look at the fourth house, it is the home, so it's where it feels most at it's at. So we have here when English as itself as an entity was tied to the sun, meaning how it's tied to how systems were um, assessed, because that's Venus, how they were being assessed, how we were forming, how we related with each other. So in this case, we're seeing that there was relationship between, well, there was relationship going on. There was a connection between, I wouldn't say necessarily foreign stuff, but it could be. Let me remove that one there. It was opposite of the midheaven. So that means that there was war. This is what's made it happen. There was like at that a specific event and that day. I don't know the time exactly because you don't state the time. You never get the time. So you have to assume it's just unknown, or rather midnight. But because it's specifically to a place, I'm gonna make it, I made it midnight. Put it up here, right? So 12 a.m. So well, we also have the progression of Venus literally on July 7th. These progressions is literally like over 1,000 years later. Okay, so you see that this was 1066. Okay, right here, 1066. You saw that. Okay, Julian calendar. Now we're looking at July 7th, 2025 this year. So how it's progressed is that the Venus has gone from its nadir placement. It's almost like it's gone through another, I would say it's gone through multiple. uh, because this is a progression chart, actually, we're looking at. See, event chart progression. So in this case, what's happening is it's the progression. Venus is starting to how it's relate to foreign bodies, how its reputation is in the world today, um, and how I would say there's a bit of aggression with English, and like I wouldn't say expansion either. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily aggressive per se, but there is that sort of, I don't know, something happening with English. Yeah. I'm talking specific about English here, because I'm looking at the sun. However, there are other things we can look at. Okay. Again, it's coming to terms with how it's related. It's relating itself to the world as a language. Um, Pretending English is an entity, like a physical living entity, but because it is an energy. Okay. Let's see here. Whenever I read charts, by the way, I don't prepare for it because I already have things prepared through my cheat sheets. And I don't, because when I prepare, I'm like, I'm not going to take hours to do this. I recommend the same thing for others. Trust me, it's just do it bit by bit. Get to know each asteroid, get to know each part, and then do it bit by bit and just go apply right away. No need to study, no need to do any preparations. Create your cheat sheets. I might link a link below, or rather at the end of this video, on how to do that. Okay, so I might. We'll see. Hopefully I remember. You know what? Actually, I will do that. I will do that. But it's just taking time from the video. When I'm doing this stuff, and most people are today have the short attention span thing just with going with the media. Uh, don't get me started. Um, um, Down. Okay, let's go back to this one. Okay, so we have here the sun, but let's take a look at where we're looking at its identity. Let's look at the first house. So Balder is often about, we have Balder conjunct Anubis conjunct Pandora. All these are about transformations. So I feel like this is tied to, because the sun, luckily here, sun is ruled by Leo. So we have to look at the sun here as well. You see this right here? It's Leo. It's in the sign of Leo. So when this happened, what happened was there was a shift already. There was a shift and transformation of the English language. It tells me right away there's like a rebirth happening. Balder is short, about short is being shot. There's shooting. That's naturally this is ties into shooting. When we're talking about mundane astrology, I learned that the first house is about what do you call this? I'm getting the word endeavors first, but it's more like the journey of that. So it's where it's headed, if that makes any sense. Okay, I'm still new to mundane astrology. I'm testing this, but Pandora is also about that. So risks were taken. Anubis is also about transformation. So there's a shift happening with this one. Yeah, I'm not even looking at my cheat sheet that often, because I want to focus on July 7th. So with the progression chart, we have here Feronia. So Feronia here, I said earlier in the video, that Verona is technically like forest fires and all that stuff, but Verona is actually also about transformations. So more transformations happening, and it's actually right here in about 6 degrees. Okay, it's actually in the first house. So what's happening is Verona here has mm, come to this point where it needs to have a change in the system, specifically like government's leadership. That still ties in with management as well. That ties in with Leo. So there's a transformation. There's a sort of a burning down. Okay. We also have here Makemake. I'm not sure if this is a full shift. It could be what might feel like a return, but it's not a return. Either way, there is going to be still this relationship as a foreign language to other foreign languages, particularly because it's Leo. It's a leading foreign language. So it's still going to be its own foreign language. Um, that's what I'm seeing here. Okay, so that's the general gist of that. Let's see here. Its path, its north node right here. You can see it's in Leo as well. Its north node is to be a leading language, naturally. So with the help of its sort of like resurrecting, I feel like there's something about Isis here. I'm going to Isis. So it's normalization. So it's become naturally a normalized language. That kind of makes sense already. So I don't see it changing anytime in particular. Hold on, give me 1 second. So there will be, I feel like this is tied to, I don't know if it's tied to the atrocities that were tied to the language because of the British Empire. I'm not sure. I feel like there's something about normalization, acceptance, unconditional acceptance, and forgiveness. So it's it's going to it's still going to be in its process of like, I don't know if you're noticing this, but English is always adaptive, or English has been adaptive. Like when we're looking, if we were to look at its birth chart, it's right here. It's Virgo, right? So you have 25 degrees North Node in Virgo. So that means it was in its path to changing because it's a shift from it's Virgo, it's a mutable sign. It's coming to a shift. And it was going to be it was meant to go through changes anyways and rebirth with Orcus as well, particularly with contracts. Orcus is also tied to contracts or things you sign, things that are there was surveillance at that time or surveillance. You watch okay. So there's a lot of anger going on through the I think there was health involved in here. But this is the third house. So I would say there was a lot of shifting going on with the education system in England at that time. But as we look into the progress chart, we look at how English is today, how it's also shifting. You have Yarilo right here. Okay. It's a Slavic god, actually. So it's growing. Okay. So it's enduring, it's growing, it's becoming revered more. I feel like it's going through a weird mode, but I think it's going to come to an end. The other once it ends here, it's going to go through a different process. I don't know exactly when this is going to happen, but there is a shift with the education system tied to English or English classes, ESLs, EFLs, TEFL, TESOLs, those kind of stuff with English. It's happening now. Okay, Orcus is actually in retrograde here in 2 degrees, conjunct Keteros. So there's going to be only there's going to be a focus on what English means to the world in the education system and how it relates to creating sort of harmony. It's almost like I'm getting this feel that it's because it's become a dominant language, it's going to have to adapt as well. It's in an air sign. That means it's going to shift. It's going to have to look at things from a different perspective. Although, especially with Saturn here, in progress Saturn retrograde here in Libra, it's shifting. It's not going to be like the hard English, like it's not going to be as dominant as it would be. I would say there's a shift in the education system, but also a shift in how it relates to how it's a language that relates, connects people. Okay. I hope that helps. Let's see what Feronia is according to. So you have Feronia here, 6 degrees. Ah, it's opposite of Narcissus. Probably wondering, oh, is that yeah, Narcissus, 6 degrees, six something degrees retrograde. So Narcissus is not just Narcissus, okay? Narcissus is also about learning to, I guess in this case, because it's retrograde and it's actually conjunct hell here, the shift will be that might be the sudden shift in the English language might be kind of hard for those in the governing bodies that, uh, assess or regulate the English language. I would say there's a shift, there's a sort of a dying of its sudden changes because it's in because there's an Aquarius. The people will want something else for English to be. I don't know if Reformation might be part of this, but I've been trying just to the education system, not necessarily English only, but at how it's tied to the system. I feel like there's a Reformation happening here, but in small circles. Narcissus here is more about trusting the process and becoming, thought I saw something. Um, kind of wondering about its perfection, wondering how it's like the center of the world, that's Narcissus, right? So um we have to there's going to be questions about how it's going to be like a part of the world, and that's how it's going to be loved. And look at me as a center. So in this case, it's not going to be that case. And English will not be the center language. I feel like it's going to start to change that way, especially with narcissism retrograde here. Okay. And with hell, it's conjunct its first chart when it was in this date, September 28th, 1066. Okay. There's going to be this shift happening here. So yeah, that's a wonderful thing actually, because sometimes I'm tired of English being like the center language of the world, the lingua franca. I don't care anymore. I'm just like, get over yourself. See, narcissist right there. Um, it's actually square, Albert. So it's square, it's changes here. You had is that Mach? What is that one? Echo. So you have Mercury for so this showing the shift that's happening already at that time. Holmes started to change, noticed that there was a change in the way to communicate. It's like it was meant to happen. It was meant to like, there was a burning down of what it was with Old English at that time. It's starting to shift. So we have echo here too, where English was not heard. It was a minority language. Echoes represents not being heard. Echo is just repeating. So we're just copying what the Normans did. That makes sense at that time. However, we see here that um, just looking at the fourth house itself, and in terms of how English behaves in homes or its reputation, not necessarily reputation, its inheritance in the world, its DNA, so to speak. Okay, we have Chiron retrograde conjunct Jupiter retrograde. Okay. Um, not even square. Yeah, that is square Hell and Narcissus right here. I would say it's also Anubis here. There's Narcissus. Okay, I'm gonna put that here. Narcissus, Anubis. What is this one? Double check here. I can't even see that properly. Okay, so we have Narcissus right here. We have Anubis, conjunct Anubis. So Anubis is going to shift that. There's going to be dying of its sudden changes. It's going to be something about some shifting. It's going to pass through a different phase. Plus, it's tied to how it's tied to its south node, meaning its past life and how it was before into something different. Okay. Thor is Thor. So that's going to be a shift as well. But I feel like Thor, Thor. Mm, okay. So there'll be a shift in its greatness, its popularity, its prominence. So there's going to be a shift in that. That makes total sense. Okay. Cool. This is ascendant right here. That's not that. Actually, that's the moon. This is the moon right here, and this is right here is that's the moon right here, and this is the ascendant right here. Because we have four here. One, two, three, four. I don't know if you saw that. So pardon me. Okay, so we're running into 41 minutes here. Trying to time this one so that you guys get all the things that you need to get. Um, so yeah, so the shift, that's just basically what it is. But with Thora here, I feel like, yeah, it's a popularity thing, it's greatness being distinct language, or rather its power, its connection to that, to the world will be shifting. That's the general gist I can say here of that one. Um, there might be some resistance, of course, to it, but that's fine. It's it's gonna shift. There might be some insecure masculine energy about the English language going like, oh no, so it will shift. It will shift. I don't know. I feel like something's happening. with the shift, especially how it's related to contracts in the world, any sort of agreements that it has with its own systems. Um, I don't know if it's a reformation is happening because it's not in the first house, but it is reformation with how English has become the lingua franca in the world. So I don't know if it'll still be a lingua franca. I cannot conclude that right now, because I don't have the definite answers to this chart right here. Not yet. We'll see how that goes. I haven't found any lingua franca unless I look into my, let's see, lingua franca. No, there isn't any. So that means that it's going to shift somehow. It could be less of a lingua franca and now sharing because we are going through a shift. Okay, so mm, the square, there's no squares too. Let's see if there's a square up here. Okay, we have Lilith here. Yeah, Lilith, Peru, and Mercury. So the shift in the way it's going to its reputation, it's in the 10th house. Okay. So it's going to change not only that, but the shift is going to happen with people probably shifting their beliefs about it, or rather, Perun here is about um, questioning its origins. Could be something about to shift about what is its origins. So maybe English, instead of English being just like English as it is now, it's probably going to go back to its roots, and preserve that, or preserve what it is now, because the Peruvian is about conservation. So there might be some, again, resistance, like I said there. So kind of people wondering, it's like, oh, there's a supremacy happening here. So it's a square aspect, so that means there might be sort of like fighting or arguing or whatever it is. It's tied to Mercury, so it's chatter. Because it's tied to Taurus, excuse me, it's going to be tied to resistance to that, like having boundaries on what English should be. Okay. And that's the general gist of what I'm seeing. I'm looking at the square because those are important. It'll keep us awake. And maybe there's a shift that's going to happen. Um, oh, you have here Hecate, Terpsichore, Sun, Neptune. Neptune's Sun might be a trine to the shift as well. So it might be because of the Sun in this place, in this progress chart, we're looking at the Sun kind of going towards it being part of the communities, being a sort of a language of um, tied to fantasies, tied of like bringing in the truth. Because here we have here in its birth chart, Neptune was retrograde, Thor was retrograde. So there's no um, it felt like it wasn't necessarily a language that proliferated, that kind of expanded. Because I mean, we're looking at the chart here. I mean, there was probably epidemics of some sorts because Neptune rules that, but it's retrograde, so it's little in little pockets of the world. So with its own birth chart, English is naturally becomes a small epidemic like virus, like viral language, but in small pockets of the world because it can be seen as that. But it's also kind of a realistic language. It's a language of business, right? It's a language of not the academy, can be. That's more French. So with Thor here retrograde, let me see here, shows that it's like kind of there's, oh, sorry, looking back into my chart here, my cheat sheet. Okay, so it's about purpose that it serves, right? So there's a question of what it serves. So it's about might and power. So in this case, it didn't have power. So with the sun here, not with the sun here conjunct Neptune, and Neptune no longer in retrograde, it's a progress chart, trying the shift right here, right? So Narcissus, Anubis, South Node, it feels like it's going to shift back into something different. It's going to be more of like a fantasy kind of like there may be more changes that need to happen. A disillusion that is Neptune as well. A sort of a shifting, like that shift is going to sort of come out a little bit smoothly, I would say, maybe. But it's tied to Taurus, the later degrees of Taurus. So maybe the entertainment will help with that. But again, we also have here 11th house in communities. It's not going to feel like it's going to be part of a community, but that's at that time. If we were to look at its placement, so we look at the sun, right here. right. Undo. You have the sun here. Okay. The sun here is actually conjunct Valentine is also Mars. So this is the actual placement that it has, this progress chart now. So it feels like it's going to, there's going to be, it feels like there's going to be ways to preserve it, but there's going to be some sort of verbal aggression because this is Mars. Into having this delusion that English should remain as it is. Boundaries is tied here because of Taurus, but because Gemini here is also tied to this, it feels like there's going to be about communication, verbal aggression, or something like that. So English is tied to this. So I don't know if that makes sense. We have here, what is this one? Balder, Balder, Hathor, Isis, Venus, Uranus. So Venus, Uranus, and Anubis right here is going to make that sudden shift, like we said before. Like so, external forces are going to make it sort of like this. You see that one? External forces are going to make the shift, right? So it's going to affect the way, um, at least in homes, at least in its what do you call that? It's progeny, like it's progeny sort of energy. I don't know if that makes sense. But it's something to do with the home's environment, its DNA, how it's going to pass on its DNA, what it has inherited. It's going to be affected by external forces that's going to make it shift even more. So that right there is what I see. Okay. Terpsichore is also part of this one. Terpsichore is about dancing. It's funny how Terpsichore we talked about earlier about dancing. Um, so it's something to do with the entertainment, how the entertainment industry is going to make that shift as well with it. So, um, let's see here. There's gonna be oh, okay. Yeah, so Calliope is the main one that I wanted to look at, actually. Calliope is about language. So if we were to look at back into the second chart, right? So not just the birth chart, but the actual progression chart. If we were to look at, let's see, there's several planets. So Calliope right here, in here, right? So Calliope right here, North Node, it's meant to heal. It's meant to be healing part of a language and spirituality. It is tied to spirituality because it's in the 12th house. It's not in the 12th house in its actual progress chart, but it is going to help with healing it as a language. It's there to heal. It's things that it never had before. So things that it's so-called neglected. Technically, that's still the same energy. It's a 12th house. Things that we neglect, things that we sweep under the rug. Okay, so it's going to be a language that's used for healing. It's going to be used for clearing away things. Well, that's Verona right here. But it's in its path to helping homes and helping healing and families and ancestry. So it's going to be part of that with the language and music that it is. That's it's that's Calliope rules music and language. Again, we're talking about Makemake here. Makemake is progressed here in Leo. It's still going to be an international language. What else is there? I saw something else about language. This one right here, Cleopatra. So Cleopatra is progressed in Pisces. So where it was before, where it was before was that it wasn't able to connect itself to express itself as a language. It wasn't able to be have this reputation of like being a multinational, multi-world language at that time. It was a minority language. You can see minority because it's Virgo. Okay. Cleopatra is about multilingualism. It wasn't part of the culture. It wasn't at that time. So it has progressed. Oh, let me go back to that. it has progressed to, is this the, sorry, my bad. It has progressed, goodness sakes. It has progressed into Pisces. So it's dissolving its multi right now. It's gone through a lot of stages, but the fact that it's in Pisces and it's actually affecting the ninth house of what it used to be, how it used to be part of the education system, it's changing that and it's dissolving its trajectory as an educational or for education language or academic language. It's even in as a part of philosophy or the way we talk and all that stuff. As a foreign language as well, it is also dissolving. But it's still going to remain as a language that's international. So I feel like that's tied to that. But we have that in, what is that? 17 degrees. Let's see if we have 17 degrees here. Okay, so Valentine Isis. So it's going to flow what it was meant to go through as a, at that time it was kind of like language that was also kind of healing into homes, but it was private. It was used then for homes, right? It was used again, it was a minor language. It wasn't like the French was dominant, it's Norman French rather. So when you're looking at the trine, right now you have this trine progressed Cleopatra to Isis, Valentine, there's a shift happening of natural flow of an actual dissolution of it being first it was a minority language, then it became a dominant, then it's a dominant language. Now it's going to be kind of neutral. I feel like it's dissolving all that stuff that's gone through. We also have here, no, 17 degrees Cancer. Nope, no, there's nothing there. So it's just that flow. Uh, okay, that's it. That's all I see in that one. Let's see here. So in where Cleopatra is, let's see where it is. Oh, sorry, it's in Pisces right here. Okay, it's right here, 17 degrees. It's in it's our first house. So that makes sense. Cleopatra should be the focus now. Its progress chart is like this whole thing is showing me that it is going to a lot of shifts. It's going to become a shift, like a real shift. There's both disillusion and shift happening with the language itself, tying it in with its past. Um, but it might not feel like it knows itself, so to speak, like it's sort of losing its identity, becoming less part of the world. Okay. And it's funny you also have here its opposite house. We have intercepted houses here. So that means that English is not going to feel like it's going to be part of the like what it was, right? It's going to lead, but it's not going to necessarily lead with what it was before. English is spoken everywhere. It's lingua franca. A lot of schools go through the whole like, oh, you must study English. It's like when I talk to students, they do this whole thing about why do you learn English? Because I have to, because I have to. It's for business, it's for work, it's all that stuff. And then, but no, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a leading language, but it's going to be one of the leading languages, right? Um, it's going to be, yeah, Make is right here, right? It's in 17 degrees Leo. It's actually 19 degrees Make, opposite of Pandora. So there's gonna be some risk taking involved there. It's like a sort of like that exposure, right? So if we look at Pandora, it's gonna kind of how to explain Pandora here. We know Pandora's box, right? Loss of innocence. So maybe it's not gonna be as wealthy or it's not gonna be um part of any sort of change in the world or something like that. However, it's going to have its own gifts that it needs to work through, right? So you have 17 degrees opposite of Makimaki, so it's going to have to work its way through not being a international language. Again, we have a intercepted house right here. You have this right here. Okay, it's locked in. So the way it relates with the world, and that is the seventh house, and contracts it gets into, it's not going to be that. It's still going to be recognized as one of the international languages. Okay. In fact, the way it's going to transform is probably not going to feel like it's transformed. Also, intercepted house, the eighth house here is intercepted in this progress chart. Um, Venus is in Venus is in Aries here. It is actually opposite 12 degrees. Is that Freya? So it's not going to be seen as maybe kind of not accepted as a language, as a lingua franca anymore. I'm not sure how to interpret this one. Let me double check here. Freya. Sometimes I'm battling between saying the right stuff and speeding up this video, which I don't like. Okay. Okay. So Freya is often tied to fear of death. So because it's in retrograde, it is tied to that. Um, so fear of losing its path in the world. So 18 degrees, it's tied to the moon. So with its square, with its square the moon in Capricorn here, people are probably gonna feel this and realize this inwardly that it's like, or at least in little secluded areas of the world. This is the 12th house. When we go deep into our basic needs of what it really needs to go through in order for it to change, does it need to be the way it is right now? Or do we have to let that go? So that's Freya showing me that it's like it can be, what do you call this? The English language might feel like it needs to be ravenous. So it might be hungry for attention, might be hungry for stability, might be hungry for its basic need to survive. So it holds on to this whole thing. So that's what it's showing me. But because of the intercepted house, the moon in Capricorn and it's square to Freya, it's going to feel like it's like that. So we basically get the point. So that English is going to be this language that's going to go through a shift. It's going to go through something, and especially particularly pertaining to the educational system all over the world. So everyone's probably going to have their own language. I'm getting the sense that it's going to be more about everyone's balancing everything. No language is better than the other. Okay. Anyways, it's already been 1 hour, so perfect timing. That's it for now. So I hope that was long enough, or rather short enough. I don't know. My goal was to just show you how I interpret things, but I wanted to just do it for English because I speak English and English is one of these widely spoken language. We can go deeper into this one if you have any questions about what you saw there. And that's it for now. If you have any questions, your experiences with your own readings, if you look at the charts, ask me questions, how I found this, whatever, communicate, connect, whatever you want to, and like and subscribe. Thank you for watching again. I think that's it. See you guys later. Bye.